I know, I know. I said, we'll wait until we're done with the fifth round. We'll wait till we're done with the draft, and then we'll bring it back and we'll do another episode. Well, the world isn't so kind because I don't know about you, but I have a weakness for the news and social media. And frankly, as a father of a girl who's about to go into kindergarten, I can't watch the news right now. So we're going to podcast, we're going to talk about fantasy football, and we're going to talk about things that make me happy rather than things that suck. So it's as good of an excuse as any for us to jump into part three of our draft coverage, really the third and fourth round at this point. I've got RJ and Bill with me to jump into it, and we're just going to have some fun. We're going to talk about happy things because, as mentioned, we were a little bit dark cloud in round two, so we're going to be sunny skies in round three and four, right, fellas?
Yeah, probably not, but we'll find some good picks.
Damn it, RJ!
Yeah. Yeah. Let's
I'll
see.
do what I can, guys.
I love that we're doing this and we're just sitting here waiting for RJ to make a fucking pick.
Oh, okay.
There is a bit of a comedy that he came on before we started this and said, "Oh, I need to make a pick," and has been sitting there looking at it. We even talked about it a little bit, but hopefully RJ makes a pick here. We have something live to discuss in the not too distant future. But, anyways, last time we were talking, we were just at the beginning of the third round. If I look back, I think we had touched on maybe the 303 or 302. But again, start of the third round, Calvin Austin going to the Panthers, and Lewis Cine going to the Chiefs. And then I believe it's Cameron Thomas, but I don't know if we covered him or not, going to the Jaguars. So we'll start at the 304, kind of go through, as people have seen in past years, and we explained last time. Now that we're in the third and fourth round, we're not going to dive into every pick. Things get too thin, and frankly, I don't know about you guys, but my knowledge is not good enough to go into every pick. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to find kind of tranches of 5 to 10, kind of breaks that make sense. We're going to pick a player we like, a player we didn't like in that range, and we're going to keep going. If we don't cover your player, I'm sorry. I will try and study all 300 players next year when I have an extra, 6 weeks of time on my hands. But for the time being, we're going to do what we can to keep the content flowing and keep the analysis moving here. So as usual, feel free to jump in if you guys want into the conversation, and hopefully everyone enjoys. But as mentioned, starting with the 304, we have DeMarvin Leal going to the Cowboys. I traded in to get Jeremy Ruckert from the Jets at 305. Seahawks take Romeo Doubs at 306. Hassan Haskins goes 307 to the Steelers. Chad Muma goes 308 to the Lions. Travis Jones, D tackle, going 309 to the Colts. And Jaquan Brisker going 310 to the Dolphins, while I'm taking Daxton Hill at 311 at safety. We'll go ahead and stop there. I've got 2 picks in there, so I'll just kind of start with that. I traded in to get Jeremy Ruckert because I felt that he was going to go in this couple of range. And as anyone who's looked at my team can see, I am in desperate need of a tight end. So much like the Panthers moved up to make sure he got Trey McBride in front of me in the first, I felt the time had passed that I needed to get into the draft and make sure I got Jeremy Ruckert, who I view as the second best tight end in this class, before he got snapped up here and I was kind of SOL. And then my other pick was, of course, Daxton Hill, first round safety, a bit of a risk because they already have 2 pretty solid safeties in Cincinnati. So it was a thought that he's going to switch to corner. But again, even if it's a corner, slot corner should be very involved in the run game, a very high producing corner. So thought it was a manageable risk that even if he did end up in the slot playing that role, then very likely he was going to be in that 200 plus point corner. So took a shot on it there. Bill, who was another player in that range that you really liked?
Brisker, without question. He was the guy that I wanted so badly. I could not find my way into the top end of the third to get him. It was terrible to see him go. I was horrified whenever I saw it happen. And by the way, I do agree with you on Daxton. I think that this year he might play like third safety or nickel, but I think next year he's going to find his way back into safety somehow. They picked him for a reason.
Nope. RJ, who's your favorite in that range?
So in that range, I love the Romeo Doubs pick.
Agreed.
I was trying to trade in for him. I love that opportunity in Green Bay. The Jaquan Brisker pick. I'll like most of the safeties as we get into the third round, just because I think there's a lot of them that have an opportunity to start. Maybe a little bit early, but I said that about Scene also, but that's fine. Third round pick, that's probably around when they should start going.
Yep.
Yeah,
and again, I'll pile on the Dobbs love. I want to say a couple months ago in the process, I started looking at Carson Strong, and I really like him as a player. I think it's, especially if you look at his highlights. The highlights make him look like a Carson Wentz, no shit, like level prospect to go get, and the arm to boot. So I loved him, but then as you look more at him and some of the clearly missed throws and issues that he has with his game, the fact that he is compared to Drew Bledsoe because he's a statue in the pocket, a lot of why he looks so good are because of the target he's throwing to, and the best of those targets is probably Dobbs. So again, I think he's going to have the opportunity and a path to that outside role and can win the kind of balls that Rodgers likes to throw. Now, the question is, can he, as a rookie, gain Rodgers' trust very quickly? Because that's never really happened before. We'll see. But, he doesn't exactly have a high hill to climb to get to those outside targets.
I will say Hassan Haskins. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of the player or the landing spot, but I do think he probably should have gone earlier than third round. And I like your first pick in this group. I don't like your second pick. He's guaranteed to be a cornerback in my opinion. I even think there's a likelihood that even if they don't have Bates, like if he actually does just sit out, I think there's a higher likelihood that the kid that they took in the 5th round that's a safety stays a safety more than Hill.
Yeah, I think, again, that's people were puzzled by Cincinnati's draft in that regard because they have a pretty decent slot corner as it begins with. So taking a Hill with the idea of moving him there didn't make a lot of sense because you already have that. And then doing it again with the safety they took in the 5th round, who also could have that move in his future, just didn't make a whole ton of sense. But,
And you also had they took a safety in the 1st, 2nd, and 5th, if I'm not mistaken. Which, that's fine. It's fine. An embarrassment of riches at that position. And, you can't be disappointed with coming out with 3 really good prospects in the secondary because they did want to improve in that.
All right, before we jump back into it, the Eagles have finally made a pick. With the 25th pick in the 4th round, the Philadelphia Eagles select Thomas Booker, defensive end out of Houston. RJ, do you want to talk a little bit about Booker?
I loved his interviews. He's very intelligent. He's not a defensive end. He's a defensive tackle, and he'll probably have that position change. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. I see lots of potential in him.
Okay, excellent. All right. Anyone have a pick that really stood out to them in this range that they really didn't like that they want to mention, or just kind of keep moving?
No, I mean, it might be a little early for Leo, given his role is not certain. But I mean, generally, I don't not like any of these.
I don't. Travis Jones, is that one of the ones that we're talking about? Yeah, I don't like that pick. That was a waste of a pick.
Fair enough.
There were three good defensive tackles, potential decent defensive tackles in this draft. One of them was labeled a defensive end, so yeah, there one Jordan Davis. Every other one shouldn't have gone until still probably shouldn't have gone.
And he
There's-
fell farther than I thought he would.
My pick that I just took when he gets moved to a defensive tackle, stupid pick. I should have waited until the 5th round. All of them. All of them.
All right, fair enough. Well, we got a couple defensive more tackles coming up, so we'll talk about those. The one I thought was a bit of a reach was the Chad Muma pick. They just spent a shitload of money on Foyesson Oluokun. They just took Devin Lloyd in the first round. Muma is a depth on those players, so he is as blocked can be. So the only way that that's going to return value is an injury, which, if you look at the stats, I think it was less than 20% of defensive players played all 17 games last year. So he's going to get some run, but he's not going to get consistent run, and he's not going to be a reliable run. Now, that helps because we're in a best ball, and you don't have to actually start the player. But I think at this range in the draft, you're trying to pick a guy who has a path towards regular starting snaps in either year 2 or year 3. And I just don't see Muma finding that, barring either an outstanding breakout that he jumps one of those guys or a move that moves one of those guys either to a different position or Muma to a different location. So I'm fine with the prospect because of his landing spot. I think he is very blocked. So I think he could have waited another half round.
Yep, I can agree with that. Love the prospect. Just like another linebacker that's going to come up in one of our upcoming groups. A couple of linebackers. Just didn't like the landing spot.
Yep. So let's jump into that. So for the 312, we have Brandon Smith, linebacker, going to Carolina. Khalil Shakir, 5th-round receiver from Boise State, going to the Steelers. Derek Stingley, our first corner off the board, our first official corner off the board, with Hill yet to be converted yet, going to the Texans. Justin Ross going to the Dolphins. Jalen Petrie going to the Falcons. Eric Izukanma going to the Cowboys. Then we got Colts going back-to-back, Sam Howell and Malcolm Rodriguez, and Sauce Gardner coming off the board at 320. So we'll use that as our tier break here. Our first 2 official corners going, both the Texans, really trying to establish that lockdown defense this year. So hey, if that's where the value is, more power to you. Falcons, I think, getting a bit of a steal at safety. But again, I think the big pick that everyone lamented as soon as it happened was at 315 with Justin Ross going. RJ, I know this was the player that you were trying to get into the draft for. Why don't you talk a little about Justin and what you think his future is in Kansas City?
Oh, he has a very high ceiling. I am honestly shocked that he went undrafted. I mean, he was one of those that just people saw talent. 2 years ago, they saw talent. He was one of the top rated receivers in this class.
I think he was just the number 1 overall receiver prospect.
Yeah, this time last year, he was the number 1 prospect in this class. And just an injury, turns him into
a pretty serious
draft.
He may never play.
Right. But I mean, I don't know. He's out there. He's in training camp.
Yeah.
He says he feels good.
It's gonna suck because it's gonna be Kansas City getting the steal of the draft, just like how the Saints got or who was it that got Matthew out of the draft in the 4th round in his rookie year.
Oh, that's Arizona. Right. I think that was Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the Cardinals, because he had off-field issues. He fell to the 3rd or 4th or whatever. Steal of the draft. This is good. This could be the same thing, and of course, it's going to happen to Kansas City because they need any more positive stuff happen to them. but no, I personally, I guess I don't pay attention to this league enough because I thought Ross was going to drop to the 4th or 5th, just solely because there's such a high risk of him never playing.
So there were a couple of wide receivers like ahead, like that were drafted earlier that I kind of like scratched my head, but like once Dubs went, I knew there was a chance that Ross was going to go fairly soon.
Name
And
value.
like yeah, it just people knew who he was. They know the talent, and also 6'4", 205. Is there anybody else that size in Kansas City?
No.
MVS?
I think MVS is 6'5".
Okay.
I don't know if he's that large. I don't know.
I love this pick.
Juju's only 6'1". Yeah, I mean, if it pans out, it's great. He killed it.
Actually, you know what? I hate it. I'm jealous of it. I don't like this pick. I wanted this.
Hate.
Yeah.
Oh well, there goes. You know, we had some sunny skies before we started hating on things.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this group that was taken, that like from what did you 12 to the vast majority of them are fantastic picks.
Mm-hmm.
I could do without the Khalil Shakir pick. I don't see what everybody else sees in him. I'm okay with being wrong with that one, but like love the Brandon Smith pick. I'd say I don't like the Stingley pick, but he got sauce with the next pick. Like I just flipped those two names, but like splitting hairs, he got both of them.
Yeah.
So fantastic pick. Obviously love the Ross pick. Petrie, I thought, had a chance of just being the second safety taken.
Yeah.
I mostly because I think he's going to be like he's the most defined starter. Like Hamilton is in a group of on his own, but I think Petrie kind of jumped everybody else just due to where he landed.
Yeah.
So fantastic pick. I like. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. I love the Miami wide receiver. Do I see him playing a lot or anything like that? No, but I see there's an opportunity. Is he probably just going to ride the bench because Lynn Bowden's going to take that wide receiver 3 job? No problem. Might even take the wide receiver 2 job. But yeah, like one day he'll get a chance. Who else? The Sam Howell pick, love it. Malcolm Rodriguez was the other linebacker that I was referring to in the last group with Muma. Love the player, hate the landing spot. I think the talent might just prevail.
Yeah.
And then Sauce. Like you can't go wrong with Sauce. I considered him at 101. So for him to go 320, perfect.
No, I like Rodriguez a lot in this. I mean, he literally only has Alex Anzalone and Derek Barnes in front of him. One of those two is going to get hurt, or one of those two is going to play terribly, and you can pretty much take that to the bank every season.
Mm-hmm.
So he will play, and he'll probably keep the starting job as soon as he gets the opportunity. Petrie, you already said everything there. Texans getting both top corners is crazy. And did you stop at Sauce, or did you go down to 21?
I stopped at Sauce.
Okay. Sam Howell, I think it's a great dart throw. We don't know what the pecking order is going to be. I mean, obviously the guess would probably be that Taylor is the backup there, right? But you never know.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll go dark cloud here a little bit. Not to be the draft capital zombie, but I am a little bit, as has been seen by my draft here. I understand Justin Ross had all sorts of just love coming into the draft. To go undrafted when you're that good means that NFL teams have more information than we do. So I truly think that the fact he went undrafted means that 20 teams think he's never going to play in the NFL because of his neck issue.
Mhm.
If that's the case, I think that's a bit of a reach. And then it's the third round. So I'm not going to ding Colts for the Sam Howell pick, but he was an argument for the top quarterback taken. And the NFL does not take him till the fifth round. That tells you everything you need to know about the prospect, as far as I'm concerned. Now, hey,
Happened with all
in the same draft that Washington took RG3, they got Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins ended up being the better NFL quarterback. I get it. But, you know, I'm still in a range of players here that I felt that there were higher and better and safer bets than those guys. And that's the trade-off that we get to at this point is, am I getting the starter at a less valuable position, or am I taking a roll of the dice on a very valuable position that has a 50-50 or less chance of paying off? Sorry, Bill, you were going to say something.
No, it's okay. I mean, honestly, like, the argument you made for Howell, that's the same you could make for everybody but Pickett this year, and they all went ahead of him. Granted, their situations are better because, I mean, maybe except for Willis, because everybody has like an actual chance to start this year. But I don't know. I mean, taking a dart throw. I mean, Colts has a plan of something. What that is, I don't know. But
We'll find out.
There.
Again, it's purely the. And again, I love looking at these because there's usually so many inaccuracies in them, and it should be a lesson to us all who play Devy. Every year, a day or two after the NFL draft, either Kuiper or McShay will log back on and do a way too early next year first round.
Yeah.
Sam Howell, I think, was, if not the 101 in that conversation last year. So that's what I'm talking about. Malik Willis was a known name who may have been in the first round, but I don't think he was in that conversation. Desmond Ridder definitely wasn't in that conversation. Matt Corral definitely wasn't in that conversation, or if he was much later.
Not for number one QB, but Ridder was definitely up there because since he was killing it.
Yeah, it was Howell and it was Radler who were going to be.
Yeah,
Ridder was the second one to fall off. Like when we would do post pod, like around the beginning of last year, like he was probably the number 2, and after like week 3 of the college football season, his value had like plummeted, and then he just slowly rebuilt it.
So,
but everybody else was essentially an unknown.
So that's what I mean. It's look, if it's Malik Willis is going to be a second round pick and he went in the third, to me that's a different message from the NFL than if you're going to be a first round pick and you went in the fifth, or you're going to be a top 15 pick and you went undrafted. And that's what I'm getting from these two players. So I know I did promise Panthers that we're going to be more positive this draft and this range, and here I am being negative again. But those were the two that bugged me about this range. I know the dissenting opinion on both, but you know what? Won't be the last time.
I just like the random gamble on Howell.
Yeah.
Like, do I think it's a great pick? No, not necessarily. But like, I probably would make that pick. Did I consider Corral when I took, was it my last pick? Corral went like a couple picks after one of my picks, and I strongly considered him. Yes, 203. Like I considered him at 203. So like, I don't think those quarterbacks, not to say that they're in the same tier. I believe they are obviously a tier apart. But like I don't hate the idea of a random gamble on Sam Howell, somebody who was at least respected name wise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's do the next 11 here. Dominique Robinson, DN for Chicago, going to the Colts. I take Fidarian Matthews at 322, who Colts was going to take at 323, but they take Kingsley and Egbare, another linebacker for Green Bay, at 323. Eagles gets on the board with a safety of Brian Cook at 324. Lions taking Isaac Pacheco at 325. Montreal Washington going 326. Receiver for Denver going to the Panthers. Rams taking Abram Smith, running back, to the Saints at 327. Chiefs taking Majai Sanders, outside linebacker for Arizona at 328. Isaiah Likely, one of the Baltimore tight ends that they added in this draft, going at 329. Bo Melton, 330, receiver for Seattle, going to the Bills. And then I took JT Woods at 331 as another safety. By this time, I had already traded Hill to to Bill. So I'm not just trying to stockpile rookie safeties here. It's a matter of there's moves happening behind the scene that we're not necessarily covering. But the pick that I loved in this range that I'm gonna gonna have to have a long drink at the end of this. I really wanted Majay Sanders, and I'm gonna mispronounce his name. He lined up at DN for Cincinnati and looked really good. The fact that he got moved to linebacker and is going to be a linebacker in this scheme probably dropped him a little bit. He's a little bit blocked in Arizona. It's not going to be for long. This guy is dynamic. He is a sack monster, and he's going to be a double-digit sack guy, I think, in the future. So I think Goose got an absolute steal with the pick. And I look forward to him, lording over my head as soon as my 24s come available, asking for my 24 first for him. No. But again, it was the guy I was targeting at 331. So, he came off the board, so I didn't get him. But I think that was my favorite in this range.
I like the pick, but all I'm hearing is Arizona's not going to use him right, and is going to be Hassan Reddick, and the first 3 years of his career are going to be squandered.
Well, I mean, that's fair. I mean, they don't seem to be able to use their defensive rookies very well.
I love the player. Not a huge fan of the landing spot, but I agree. I don't really recall if I was trying to trade back into these spots after I took Cook, but like if I was, that was one of the players that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I
don't know who the first 3 players in this group are.
Dominique Robinson has a really, really, really good shot at playing legitimate snaps at DN for Chicago. I was really hoping to snag him. I was trying to trade Colts 318 just to get him, but it never worked out because it's very difficult to find deals with Colts sometimes. Fedarian Mathis, I love it. You got rid of Payne in our deal, and then you get his backup right off the bat. It's incredible. Brian Cook, everybody talked about how he was going to fit in Kansas City. Honestly, the one that sticks out the most of way too early, in my opinion, is Pacheco at 325 to the Lions. The guy is currently the 3rd or 4th string running back in Kansas City, may literally never play other than special teams, if even that. But I'm also a really big fan of this pick. I just think it's early.
So I'm sure everybody has had those where you're on the clock, you're pretty sure there's somebody you want to take, but there's somebody else that you're at least considering, and then you make your pick and you're confident about it, and then the next pick is the person you were that somehow crept into the debate, and you're like, oh shit, maybe I should have taken him. And that's exactly what happened with me.
Really?
I love the Brian Cook pick.
Yeah.
For myself, I love the way he plays. He kind of just goes out there and he intends on causing brain injuries, whether it be to himself or the other player.
He's going to kill it.
He's a monster. But I don't know his Pacheco. I really just like the opportunity. Don't know how I really feel about the player, but I love the
story is so worth rooting for, though.
Okay, I will have to look into it. But
it's crazy. But yeah, I'm also not a huge Clyde fan, as we probably know.
I think none of us are at this point.
Yeah, right. and I don't know who is his like number 2 there now. Who's the grinder?
Is
Not
it Daryl Williams?
One of the Williamses that's strewn about the NFL.
I thought Daryl went to Arizona today.
You talking about the expensive one in our league?
Yeah. Oh, it's Rojo.
Oh,
that's right.
even worse.
Yeah. So I think Clyde loses his job to Rojo, and I think Pacheco has a great chance to be like the third down pass catcher. I just think it's early, like the third round. It's just early for this guy who went in the 7th round, like late 7th. Just one of those things, right? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. And then the Giants, I don't know what he's ever going to see out of Isaiah Likely for as long as Mark Andrews.
Watch your mouth.
Just saying, like, what a weird spot for them to.
I love that. I'm like shocked that he went this late. Like I was good at tight end, so I wasn't really shopping for tight end, but like Likely should have been a mid-second round pick.
It's the Mark Andrews factor.
Yeah, Mark Andrews isn't 2 tight ends, and they put more tight ends out on the field than any other team.
I don't know. I think about the time when they had Hayden Hurst and him together. It didn't work for Hayden Hurst ever.
Yeah, I mean, he still put up like 5 touchdowns a year, and like in 2022, where like 5 touchdowns a year gets you probably top 12. Like,
right?
That's fine.
That's fair.
It's all about the fact that like he is a capable blocker, so he will get on the field, and he knows how to catch a football. Like he's not just strictly a blocker. So like I love that. He's one of the few rookies that just probably doesn't necessarily start, but sees like a healthy amount of snaps week 1.
Sure.
And now like, is it going to be more than like 1 or 2 targets week 1 because the confidence isn't there, especially like at game speed, but like week 6, week 7, like I could see him getting a couple of targets here and there, 4 or 5.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
It's just a matter of he'll be on the field more than almost any other rookie on the offensive side. Like other than the, highly drafted wide receivers and stuff like that.
Right.
All right. Moving down, the reason I broke at 332 is we have a bit of a run starting here at 332 on running backs. The next 4 picks, the Lions taking Jerome Ford, Jags taking Kyron Williams, Dolphins taking Tyler Batty, Rams taking Kennedy Brooks, all running backs for those teams. Chargers finally gets into the mix of things at 336, taking Amari Barno, D-end for Carolina, and Commanders wrapping up the supplementals at 337 for Nick Cross, Indiana safety. We'll pause there. RJ, favorite of the backs?
Pass. No.
Really?
Damn it, RJ.
No. So if I had to pick one, it would probably be Tyler Beatty. Not a huge fan of the other ones. I think Kyron Williams does have will get an honest opportunity, but I don't think he takes it away from like Akers or Henderson. I think they still maintain their roles. I do want to take a second and at least acknowledge Mike's pick of JT Woods from the last group because I didn't get to it. I thought that was a fantastic pick, and I think the Woods pick and the Cross pick in this group closed out a tier of more than likely starting safeties.
Yeah.
Like they will start at some point in year 1. Barno, I'm not. The opportunities there, and Carolina, but I wasn't necessarily thrilled with the player.
I don't know. I mean, I think Barno has a pretty good shot. I mean, Gross Matos hasn't done anything yet to prove that he's like the guy across from Burns. So I think he's got a good shot, at least rotationally. So I can't I can't knock it. I mean, for Matt's literally only pick to this point, I can't knock him for taking the premium position.
Well, I mean, to put it into context, like Stephen Weatherly shit the bed for 3 straight years and still got
Yeah,
opportunity after opportunity.
yeah,
So,
exactly,
like,
exactly.
it's not like it can't happen
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
What's your thought on the running backs, though?
Kyron Williams was mine, solely because of what you said. He's going to get the opportunity. Um, I guess when you think about bad body in Baltimore, like there's really no guarantee with Dobbins and what he does or doesn't come back as, or Gus Edwards. Like he might have a pretty good shot. Kennedy Brooks. There doesn't seem to be any love lost with Miles Sanders, and Gainwell can't carry the load, but Brooks was undrafted. Like, what do we do with that? Like,
I,
it's a weird run. It's a weird run, but it's probably where it should be.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything that got said here. Batty was my running back prospect. I liked a little bit later. Just I think his pass catching skills be very valuable. I don't know how he gets deployed in Baltimore. Maybe he does get some of those out of the backfield reception options, but that's just going to be such a committee. Brooks was a pretty highly regarded prospect, injured, and probably has some injury concerns. That's why he dropped. But Philly's the kind of place that's going to take a shot on that kind of talent. I think I'd have to go with Kyron Williams here. And the point got made in chat, and I didn't quite put two and two together here. But last year, Jake Funk was a thing. Ever remember Jake Funk?
Yeah, get funky.
who?
Jake Funk was the thing because no one thought that Henderson could stand up to the workload, and everyone was Akers was obviously hurt. Now Akers is coming off an Achilles injury where he looked kind of plodding at points in the playoffs, and Henderson showed he can't stand up to the workload. So if either of these guys miss time, Kyron's going to be next man up here. So I would not put it past him getting, if everyone stays healthy, 60 to 80 touches this year. If somebody doesn't stay healthy, he's probably in RB2 territory. At least my feeling of things. So I think he's got the highest upside and the cleanest path to touches. And at this point, that's what you're looking for running backs. I love Batty. I think he's the better prospect, but Kyron's got the clear path to opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right, should we jump into the fourth round?
Let's go.
All right. Well, that being said, Raiders is on the clock still, so hopefully we'll get another pick to talk about in the fourth round before we get too much further into it. So 401 have the Saints taking D'Angelo Malone. 402 Lions taking Damone Clark. 403 Dolphins taking Charlie Kohler, another Baltimore tight end. 404 Cowboys taking the best name in the draft, Snoop Connor. 405 Micah McFadden going to the Panthers. 406 Ty Chandler going to the Seahawks. 407 Trent McDuffie going to the Saints. 408 Kevin Harris going to the Lions. 409 Zach Carter, D-end, going to the Jets. 410 Daniel Bellinger, tight end, going to the 49ers. And we'll go ahead and stop there. The two I'm going to mention real fast here. You know what? I'll go last so I don't snap anybody. Bill, why don't you go ahead and go first here? Who's your favorite pick of this range?
D'Angelo Malone. I really did like him here. I think he's got a shot. Like Atlanta's defensive situation is unknown for the most part. I think that he's got a great shot. I feel like everybody that was drafted by Atlanta this year has a real opportunity to get playing time as rookies, and it's just because they're so bad. But it's my favorite one out of the group that you said.
Fair enough. RJ, what do you think?
So, out of this group, I like the Snoop Connor pick. Even if it's just temporary, he's going to get some type of opportunity early in the year. just because there's so many lingering issues, injuries.
Yeah,
Other
I
than
agree.
that, I'm not a big fan of the rest of the picks in this group. Trent McDuffie, no, it's just it's fine, but it's still way too early for a cornerback. A cornerback not named Sauce.
I mean, he was a first rounder.
That's
Fair.
fine. He should be a fifth rounder in our league.
Fair. So
If you are not a generational talent at cornerback, you should be a fifth rounder in our league.
good enough. I will respectfully disagree on the McDuffie pick because I had queued up. I had 2 players queued up on my my pre-draft in this range, and I was starting to think that somehow I had made it public. Because 402, Damone Clark was going to be my perfect end of draft pick because I loved him as a prospect. He went to Dallas. He got injured, and he's probably going to be IR this year and redshirted coming in next year. I think Dallas got a good one there in our league Lions, but I think he's going to be a hell of a linebacker, a very instinctive guy, ran the defense at LSU, had an injury, which is going to keep him out this year, but Dallas scouted him, found the injury, told him, and still took him in the 5th round anyway. So that means that, they're committed to the player and committed to him being something in that defense, I think. So I think he's going to be a very valuable piece next year, especially with some of the linebackers aging out, needing an extension, and them not wanting to pay. He's going to slide in, I think, very nicely to that second level. I agree on the Steve Connor piece of this. And like I said, Trent McDuffie, that Kansas City secondary got gutted this year for good reason, because it needed to be. But the first place they invested is at McDuffie. With Carr, Wilson, and and Herbert in the division, they're going to get thrown at a lot. So I think McDuffie's the kind of player who can have a Trayvon Diggs-like jump. He's not a generational talent, but because of the amount he's going to be targeted and the type of game he has at corner, he could be one of those, 200, 250-point corners that separate themselves. Now, the 4-year thing is a bit of a challenge, but I think McDuffie is worth it when we're talking about an early 4th round pick.
I really do wonder if they look at him as a replacement for Snead because of their cap situations coming up. I mean, I know Snead doesn't need extended for like another 2 years, but Mahomes is making $500 million now, so it's a little rough.
I mean, it's a question. I think he's more of a replacement for the corner they lost to San Francisco, Charvarius Ward.
Right.
I think they're asking for him to step into that role. But again, that secondary, and I think the entire Kansas City defense needed some heavy investment from this draft, and they got it in this draft because I want to say, like, except for Sky Moore, like the other 6 of like the first 7 picks were defense. So they needed to focus on defense. They focused on defense, and he was the first place they went with it. So
yeah,
I like that. All right. Let's keep rolling here. Where did I cut it off here? The 411, RJ took Kirby Joseph. The 412, Steelers taking Tyson Anderson. 413, Kobe Bryant going to the Saints. I took Career Elam at 414, Perrion Winfrey at 415, Carson Strong at 416. I'm not going to even try and pronounce. Cowboys taking the Tennessee tight end Okonwo at 417. Kyler Gordon going for 18. Andrew Booth for 19. Saints taking Devin Harper for 20. Neelan Farrell going for 21 to the Ravens. Bill taking DeMarco Jackson for 22. Marcus Jones going for 23 to the Rams. Jake Ferguson going for 24 to the Lions. And as mentioned at the beginning of the pod, Thomas Booker, D-end, going to Eagles at 425, which gets us up to date.
Mm-hmm.
RJ, I'll let you start since you had 2 picks in this range, Kirby Joseph and Thomas Booker. Tell me why you went those directions.
I've seen more on Kirby Joseph than any other player drafted this year. I don't know if it just randomly, it just happened, I happened to notice it, but like so many articles just outlining how he has a chance to start and how he's the type of safety that Detroit needs and like sleeper and, potential starter year 1. So I'm just like, all right, I wouldn't mind another safety. It'd be nice if one did well. And I took him. I tried to watch some highlights, but he was already on my roster, so I kind of just went, whatever.
Right.
He's already rostered, so what do I care about his highlights?
I like Kobe Bryant solely because of the name. I so badly want him to house an interception against Russell in week 1, just so hopefully an announcer will say Kobe, just to do it.
And who can argue with that? Thank you everyone for tuning in.
No, it's the mid to late 4th. Like, what are we really looking at here? Like, a bunch of dart throws for the most part, but I mean, a lot of safeties that are going to either play outside starters or nickels. Kaiir Elam, Kobe Bryant, Kyler Gordon, Andrew Booth. Like, I'm amazed that these names are going in the 4th when I could easily see them being argued towards the 3rd if you have other ones going in the 3rd. I get it, like first round values, that kind of thing, but at the end of the day, they're all gonna score points, and that goes to RJ's point about don't even worry about corners until the 4th or the 5th, because there's always going to be somebody there.
Yeah, and again, I took Kaiir Elam in this range because he was a first round corner and because he was lining up on the other side of Tre'Davious. I think that's going to be a solid option, especially with teams having to throw against the Bills a decent amount this year. And who are you going to throw at, Elam or Tre'Davious White? So I think
Elam.
Yeah, so he's going to get a decent amount of targets. And in our league, I'd rather get the corner that is opposite the stud, because Sauce Gardner is going to be fantastic.
So good.
I'm just going to throw at the other side of the defense if I can.
Right.
If I'm taking the corner who's got White on the other side of him, I'm probably going to get a highly targeted corner. So we'll see what's happening, but that was the logic behind my pick here. The other one that I really liked was RJ, the point you made earlier about when you're between 2 players and then the player that you were thinking about going with gets picked next pick. I was between Kaiir Elam and Carson Strong. So I'm like, you know what? I really like Strong, but he's 3rd string on the Eagles and Minshew's there. And do I really want another 3rd string quarterback? No. And then he goes 2 picks later. So
I mean, it makes sense for the Dolphins. He's got Jalen.
Right, but again, Minshew is going to get play before Strong does. Now, Strong got invited to the opening, which may mean something for rookies. I don't know, but he's kind of buried, at least this year. And next year, since he's undrafted, is he really going to be the guy over someone else they bring in? I mean, they have multiple picks next year, including maybe some early ones if things don't go right for the Saints. Who knows? But I like Strong as a prospect. I think he's got a lot of potential, but odds are against him succeeding in the NFL. So that's why I went Elam versus Strong. But again, like I said, that's a conversation you get into at this point, because if you hit on Strong here, that's kind of like Hurts all over again. Like, really cheap starting quarterback for a couple of years here that gives you an opportunity to do so many other things. So good on Dolphins for taking that risk. And, who knows, maybe it'll pay off for him because he's the exact opposite of what Hurts is.
Yeah, he was one of those players that had I fleshed out my team a little bit better pre-draft or in the earlier rounds, or if he would have just made it to the 5th, I would have been all over him. I did the most digging as far as like draft prospects. I knew I was going to have the 101, as I was tearing down my team, last year. So I dug into all of these quarterbacks. I would have loved to have picked up Strong. I also would have loved to have seen him take a bigger, make a bigger improvement last year in football. He was one of those players that some people honestly thought he was going to improve his draft stock, and he really didn't. I mean, he might have hurt it even. But I do like the player. I don't like the landing spot because I'm kind of a believer in Hurts, but I don't think it's an awful gamble.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a completely different player than Hurts too. So it is purely he's going to be our third quarterback. We'll develop him as something, and if Hurts doesn't work out, we need to move on next year. He's the guy that we keep in the room as a long-term backup if we like him. If not, thanks very much. Have a nice day.
Oh, I mean, if Hurts fails, he will at least get some amount of reps to win the starting job. Will he do that? That's solely based on his improvements and how high the talent is that they bring in.
Right. And I do love the setup there of Rager, of which everyone hates, of Goddard, of Smith. You have so many guys who can just get deep on you.
Don't forget their wide receiver 3, AJ Brown.
Oh yeah, that guy too. So he's got the arm that if you put him in a vertical offense with those 3 guys, I don't care if he's just going to be a Drew Bledsoe, take 5 steps, and that's where he's going to be. If he gets into a 3-step drop and can get the ball out in 3 seconds with those guys, he's going to be able to do it. So I don't know. I'm overly up on Nevada quarterbacks, as I mentioned. I have family in Reno, so I follow the Wolfpack probably closer than your average Bear. And again, I really like Carson Strong here, so I think that's a great pick. But that gets us to the current point of our draft. Raiders is still on the clock. Last I checked, is he recently logged in here? He has not recently logged in. In fact, it's been about 3 hours since he's logged in. So we'll see when he gets around to picking. But the other part of this is grades. So we are near the end of the 4th round. So I would say for most teams, the impact they're going to have on their team this year from the draft has been felt. Now there's going to be a 4th rounder that we don't expect that jumps and surprises us all. And what a great pick this guy was. We don't know who that is yet. We can suspect, but we don't know. So I'm going to say it's not too early to give some of these teams grades. So I've gone through and graded each of the drafts. Bill, RJ, I don't know if you guys had a chance to do so also, but kind of going division by division. You know what? I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys. What do you think? Should we do grades for every team? We're 54 minutes into the pod. Should we do grades for everybody? Just one conference? What do you guys think?
I'm down to do grades.
I'm down to do grades too. I don't have grades, but I'm down to make them up on the fly.
All right. So let's go to the AFC East to start. So pull up the draft report so I can mention everybody's picks that correspond to their grade. So we'll start
just to do it by grid.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just doing the filter on the draft report. So the Patriots, their only pick at 122, Devin Lloyd. Good pick. Should get solid run as the Ted to Alucon's Mike, and a good path to a solid probably RB top linebacker top 50 performance to start, and then growing from there. So I gave him a B for that pick.
Solid pick, shallow draft, like for him, obviously, because it's one pick. I would give it a B minus.
Yeah. Let's just keep to the theme. Let's go with B.
We'll go to the Bills next. Has made 3 of his 4 picks. He still has the 528 to make, but his 4 picks were Quay Walker, Tyler Algier, and Bo Melton. 2 second rounders in the third. That said, I think Quay's probably a little bit overdrafted for where he is. Again, I not as big of a fan as others, but I could be off, and Bills is a closer fan of the Packers than I am. I think Algier is a bit of a wasted pick. I don't think he's going to do much in Atlanta, and I think Melton's overdrafted also. So I give him a C+ for this.
I would give this a D. I don't mind the Quay pick, but I think his talent is very high, but I don't see his production this year being overly impressive. I do also view the Algier pick as just a waste, and I don't like the Melton pick. Just not a wide receiver that I really valued in the draft.
Yeah, I would say D. I mean, I like Quay. I think that's a great pick. But I mean, the rest of it just doesn't appealing. Algier, now I will say this, it will go to a B if Algier, becomes anything in Atlanta. But I don't see that happening.
Right, and I think that's a fair point. But again, as of now, I think we're kind of aligned there. We'll do the Dolphins next. They still have 6 picks from the 5:15 on. I think a lot of these are going to end up getting skipped. But again, well, I like some of the players. I gave him a B-. I think if the level of prospect that Dean was, for him to fall to the third in the NFL draft, I think is a lot more concerning than others think. I think Brisker, again, great pick in the third round. I mentioned how much I love Strong. But as much as I like the prospects he took, I don't think they're in the right situations. Now, situations can change, but Kohler already had a tight end taken on top of him in Baltimore. So not really thrilled about that situation. Now, others can say, hey, Andrews was the second tight end taken between him and Hurst. Great. He's now buried as the tight end 4 right now in Baltimore. Right. So I don't know how you're getting out from under that. I mentioned my stuff about Ross and Batty. I like the prospects. I just don't see many of these guys panning out, or a situation where Dolphins is going to have to hold these guys for 2 or 3 years before he gets any kind of return on investment. And that's really tough to do. It's okay to do 1 or 2 guys, but when you have to do it with 5 or 6, it's really tough to do things with, and it's a pretty big roster clogger.
So I like a good bit of these players, but when you look at it, it's I took a third-round linebacker in the first. I took a starting safety on a bad team in the third. Took an undrafted free agent in the third. I took the sixth running back on Baltimore's roster. I like the 7th best tight end when the 2nd best was still available. A defensive tackle before the 5th round, and the 6th best quarterback. It doesn't look like a very impressive group, like when you just look at it. For that, I would give it a C.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, I would probably say like C+, C even. I love Brisker. Dean, as long as he plays well, he's going to be just fine, I think. But everything else is very dart throwy, and Justin Ross will, in my opinion, make or break this this whole draft for him. But I love Brisker. Like, I think that's the steal for him in this group of players right here.
It's the best looking pick.
Yeah. I'm taking my dog out. I'll be back.
All right. Finishing up the AFC East is the Jets. I'll lead with I'll run the lead. Garrett Wilson, Jamison Williams, Tyrion Davis-Price, Zach Carter, and Kyler Gordon. He gets a piece of the San Francisco backfield for a very cheap price. 2 top 12 receivers who have a clear path to day one production. I really like the Zach Carter pick. I think he's going to be in the rotation to start, but a clear path to getting a role. And Kyler Gordon, same kind of situation. I think he lines up immediately in that secondary, and getting one of those top corners in the class at the 418 is a screaming value. So I gave him an A in terms of what he's got. I think he's well along his way for his rebuild.
I mean, he had the 7 and 8 pick. As long as he went wide receiver there, just going to get an A. Davis-Price pick was fine. Don't really care about the other two guys. A. Perfect. Just fine.
All right. Let's move to the AFC North. Let me find the AFC North here. Here we go. And we're going from A to A for me. Steelers got an A because of, again, their 2 top picks. Treylon Burks at 5 and James Cook at 11. And then he continued to add value at the right spots here for me. I like but don't love Dolchich. I see why folks like him, especially considering how unproven Albert O is. So I get it. Alex Wright, the Clowney signing probably hurts that for some people. For me, I think that's a great situation for him to rotate in for a year before he gets that role full time. I think that's good for him. Danny Gray is already impressing at OTAs for San Francisco. Ayuk said he's a player, so considering they're going to try and stretch the field a little bit more, I think that's a great pick there. Hassan Haskins, you mentioned earlier, probably a little bit later than warranted. But again, I think he put up 200 points and just an absurd stat line against Ohio State. And, that has shown that at least you get some kind of run or play in the NFL with that. Shakir, 5th round receiver, but again, dart throw in the 3rd. And then finally, Tyson Anderson, I think was the 5th round safety that you were talking about for the Bengals, who very well may get some starting run at safety for the real-life Bengals this year. So added high level, I think nailed his 1st-round picks, got good value in depth in his 2nd and 3rd-round picks. A for me.
Yep. First 2 picks are good. Dolchich is fine. Gray pick's fine. Don't really care about the rest. For the 2 first-rounders are solid enough value, similar to the Jets. Don't really care about what else you take when the 2 first-rounders are solid home runs.
Yep. All right. So next we'll do the Browns. What are your feelings about the Browns?
Like the Sky Moore pick before I found out what jersey number he was going to wear. Ebiketie, wasn't a huge fan of the pick, but decent enough player. I would probably give this draft a C.
Yeah, I agree. It has nothing to do with the number for me. I think Sky Moore has potential. I think there's five receivers people are kind of pointing at in the Kansas City core right now, saying, 2 of these guys are going to be the guy. If Sky Moore is one of those 2 guys, this ends up being a B+ or better of a draft. that's just not guaranteed for me. So getting that at 12, I think you edge towards talent and situation. I think this was a situation-based pick. Again, I was moving up for this guy, so I'm not going to trash him too hard. But with that being the cream of the crop of the draft, with Ekabide and Zamir White, Zamir White, 5-star running back coming in and now in Vegas, he has a path, but that path being a 4th-round pick is not an easy one. So, like you said, I'm going with a C here as well. Let's see who's next.
The other two you can't really even judge.
Yeah, I gave the Bengals an incomplete, so we won't spend much time there because he hasn't drafted yet. And
Ravens is the
then
same.
Ravens has 1 pick, Neil Farrell, who is everything of a 4th rounder, but I don't love his upside, so I give a C for that so far.
No, I'm not going to judge somebody on just this 1 4th rounder that they, 2 random 4th round picks that they have.
All right, so we'll move to the Texans. This is a situation where I gave him a B+, but he steered hard into this is a defense-focused draft, and so many teams will say, I'll make my offense under control first, and then I'll figure out my defense, because defense tends to be a little bit easier to acquire outside of DN in this league. He took and said, nope, hard turn left. I'm taking nothing but defense in this draft because that's where the value is, and then we'll figure out the offense next year. And like you said, if Devonte Wyatt keeps a DN designation, dear God, this has got to be like an A. But for now, with the idea that he's probably going to get moved, I think it's a B+. I think Stingley, Gardner, and Booth are good corner options. I think he's got years to be able to keep those players and do what he needs to do. And by the time he competes, they should be still on pretty cheap, pretty reasonable contracts for the points he's given them. So I want a B+ just because he is so corner invested in this and the years that come with that. But considering he had to take high value players at low value positions, I've got to take a bit off the top for that.
I'm taking quite a bit more off the top. I would say this is a D, probably close to an F.
Okay, we're going to talk about this a little bit more. So
when you have 3 second-round picks and you walk away with 2 defensive tackles, potentially 2 defensive tackles and a defensive end, your 3rd-round picks are all cornerbacks, and your 4th-round pick is a cornerback. What are you going to do with these other 7 picks in the draft? Because now you're picking undrafted free agents at other positions because you have wasted all of your picks on undesirable positions when you could have just taken slightly lesser known names at those undesirable positions and gotten relatively similar production in the later picks.
So here's why I disagree. Let's look at the Texans team right now. Besides Watson and the rookies, who's a player that you say when Texans is competing, this player may be part of the squad?
I don't see any of it. I don't even think you have hold on to Watson that long.
Right. So you've got Watson, and then again, I can see Gary's a movable asset, and then he's overinvested in corners. Piece. No disagreement there. At this point, he needs players who are going to be players.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm debating between Carson Strong and Andrew Booth in his situation, I'm picking Andrew Booth.
But why is the debate only the backup quarterback and the cornerback? Why isn't it the running back and wide receivers?
They're talking about a day 3, third, fourth, fifth, seventh string offensive player, or a starting player on defense. So I guess agree to disagree, but I understand why he went the direction he did. He wanted to make sure he got players he could build around on defense at the second, third round picks. It's going to be more valuable to him to have those than miss on, Master T.
But that's fine for the late picks. But like, you're telling me that it was a better investment to have Jordan Davis over Danny Gray, Velus Jones, Calvin
believe
Austin, even though I don't like him, or Devontae Wyatt was a better investment than Zamir White, Tyrion Price, Damon Pierce. Like, Wyatt is not. If you are trying to rebuild those, Wyatt's not gonna. Like, sure, he's great to hold on to, but like, you're never gonna flip him for more value than what you just spent on him.
Right. So Wyatt, I won't fight you on because he's going to end up as a D tackle. The only way he hangs on to the value is as a D end. The others, I don't know if a player you compare Davis to is going to be better than what Davis gives you. Now, again, it's a far more replaceable position.
Right.
I think this gives him at least things to build around.
I agree with that. Like, I don't think any of these players are like terrible players. I just think I think the draft capital is like terrible investment in the positions.
Right.
I feel like if it wouldn't have hurt to go running back or like wide receiver in the second, defensive end in the fourth, and then go find some slightly less known cornerbacks and defensive tackles in the fourth and fifth round. Like,
I'm just shocked you're giving Sauce Gardner an F. I can't believe it. I'm flabbergasted.
I love Sauce, but when you're like, yeah, so I drafted Sauce and 2 other cornerbacks and 2 defensive tackles. Like, it just, as a whole, it's awful to me. On to the next one, though.
All right. Bill, did you want to chime in here, or you good with our bickering?
Bickering is good.
Bickering is good. All right, let's go back to who we can agree upon. The Colts. I gave him a B minus. I think he kind of ended up at the ass end of all of the runs that he was on. I know that Bill sees some value in some of the players that he got, but with Olave, I think that's kind of the last of one tier, beginning of the next tier at receiver. So don't love that at 109. Robinson I like, but don't like at 209. Again, I know that doesn't make a ton of sense, but I usually don't anyway. And then the rest of his picks I see as such dart throws that I don't know if they hit. So I give him a B minus. I think he's got some upside in 2 or 3 of these guys' surprise. But for the most part, these are underwhelming at the draft capital they were spent on.
Yeah, I love the Olave pick. The other ones I don't disagree on. I don't mind the Howell pick, don't mind the Rodriguez pick, but also, like, you're in the 3rd round, you can't really expect greatness. But yeah, the upside of Olave just completely brings that draft class up. So I would say B.
Yep. Bill, thoughts?
What are you talking about? Colts?
Yep.
Olave, Rodriguez, and Robinson at the end. I think great opportunity. I think Brian Robinson is just like, I don't know what the point of Robinson is for Washington, let alone the Colts. So B minus. Yeah.
All right, moving on to the Jags. I really struggle with this grade. I love the Jermaine Johnson and Kyron Williams pick. I like Mechie and Watson as players. I think both were complete reaches at the position, though. So I settled down and gave him a B, but I was everywhere from an A minus to a C on this one. So hence I ended up at a B because I like the values he got. I'm sorry, the players he got. I just don't like the value he had to spend on anybody other than Jermaine Johnson and Kyron Williams.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I'm looking at Christian Watson and I'm like, okay, cool. Like I can get down with that until you realize that like I don't know, George Pickens went 3 picks later, Desmond Ridder was there, Trey McBride, like all these names that could have potentially done more. But at the same time, like the opportunity is there for Christian Watson, like so heavily in Green Bay. Mechie, I guess, was just like the best wide receiver name available at 26. I guess. I don't know. I guess that's debatable. And then Jermaine Johnson, great pick as long as everything works out rotationally. That rotation is so weird. I know he's gonna be solid, but it's just such a weird rotation. Cam Thomas and Kyron Williams, like they are what they are. His whole draft is made off of those 3 picks.
RJ, tell me why you give him an A.
This was really close to an A+ for me. He took the last player at the end of certain tiers. He took the last player in the second tier of wide receivers with Christian Watson. I thought Watson probably should have went above Sky in our draft. He probably, like I would have been fine seeing Watson go like 110. So 113 was fine. Mechie right where he should have been. Not early, not late, just closed out that group of wide receivers. The like last group of I'm an actual wide receiver that's probably going to start for an NFL team, not I am a X, use me everywhere on the field. Like he's an actual like skill position player. Jermaine Johnson was fine, closed out the last of the like high quality defensive ends. Went a little off with the Thomas pick. I don't like it. That's what prevents it from getting the plus. And then got the last running back with any type of opportunity left in the draft. So, A.
He's building. It's going to work out well. And to your point, I think Sky would have gone after Christian had their landing spots been switched. Christian might have even gone ahead of Garrett Wilson. Kansas City stigma. Everybody loves that offense for some reason.
Can't imagine why.
Can't imagine why, right?
I don't know. I just see 6'5", 200 pounds.
Right.
Wide receiver.
Right.
I don't ask many questions.
Well, I mean, did you believe in Devonta Smith?
Yes.
It's same build, just 5 inches shorter, right?
5?
Well, Christian Watson's 6'5". Isn't Devonta only 6 foot?
Devonta's like 5'9" on a good day.
Okay.
Soaking wet.
So a whole foot.
And he's like 45 pounds lighter. They're nowhere near the same player.
No, I'm saying like equate them to their sizes, right? Like they're both skinny. Like they're both,
they're both like big and lanky. Just one's a big lanky red zone target. The other one is supposed to be shifty and able to get underneath the defenses.
I'll take Randy Moss over Wes Welker.
I would be.
I'm not. No, they're not comparisons. I'm just saying, like height wise.
Because that's the thing. I like Watson for his measurables. He has 3 routes: curl, out, and go. That's it. Now, is Rodgers going to need him to run more than those? Probably not. But again, I curl out and go. Watch his highlights. That's all it is. So
Now, I did say something bold post podcast regarding seeing somebody that looks like Randy Moss, but I did say Tyquan Thornton looks like a 32-year-old Randy Moss. I don't know if that's good for a 20-something-year-old to look like a 33-year-old, but he looks like a 33-year-old Hall of Famer.
Oh man! I mean,
backward,
looks like he was
backhanded compliments all over the place.
Right.
All right, rounding out the AFC South, we got the Titans. Only pick K. Dotton at 232. I give him a D. Just because he's linked to Tom Brady, like, does not make him a valuable player.
I think it's just opportunity.
I mean, I would give it a D also. So I look at it and I see a tight end that's not like Ruckert being drafted before Ruckert. So I'm not gonna like that, and combine that with being the only pick for this team. Definitely a D, probably an F.
I mean, can I ask like a genuine question here?
Mhm.
Like,
No.
Okay, fair enough. So I like Ruckert.
Mhm.
Like, I'm an Ohio State guy. I think Ruckert has been extremely undervalued at all levels for what he does. I think that the Jets got him at a great price point and a steal. But am I wrong to say that he's going to be kind of useless for a couple of years, being buried behind CJ and Conklin? Like,
I don't
don't
see very much talent in front of him.
I mean,
I see both those guys as replacement level talent. I think you're right. I think to start the year, you can't rely on him in week one. I think by the end of next year, he's the starter in New York.
By the end of like 2022 season or 23 season?
22 season.
Interesting. Okay.
So again, Uzoma and Conklin, to me, Conklin's a blocker. So
Right.
great.
Right.
Less worried about that. Ruckert, you want him to eventually be your tight end one. He's working through a foot injury, so he's not going to be available to start the year. Uzoma, I think they gave a $7.5 million contract to.
3-year, $24 million, $15 million guaranteed.
So basically a 2-year deal. I think Ruckert overtakes him by the end of the first year because they just need somebody to play the role.
Right.
And
yeah, his
again,
out is after 2023.
Yeah. So
I view Uzoma like I did Darren Fells a couple of years ago. More just he's decent enough at blocking to get on the field, and he knows how to not drop a football, but like doesn't actually provide like much outside of that.
Do you like him better in New York than you did in Cincy?
No, I don't. I'm surprised he even got a job.
Oh, come on. Okay.
Well, seriously. Where's Darren Fells right now?
Like 38 and old.
Okay, well, Uzoma has really bad knees,
Right.
so I figured he'd be 33 and old or whatever age he is. How old is he?
29.
Jeez, he's a really old 29 then.
All right, fair enough. I can't argue it anyway. So I don't know. I like K. Dotton. I mean, it's his only pick. Like, let me look at his roster here real quick. Was it even a position of need? Yeah, it was. So I mean, he took a position in need. So good on him. $1 million or less for potentially the tight end 1, maybe the tight end 2, depending on Brait. That's not bad.
fair
I
enough.
mean,
Again,
I'm not going to give him any kind of crazy grade, like it's C or C minus, that kind of thing. But still, nothing crazy.
Yeah, and again, I watching the highlights on Otten, it's vertical. Like every route that he scored on was a seam or an outside vertical. So less impressed with the player. He's going to play a specific role for them. Is he going to get 200 yards probably this year? Maybe.
Right.
So again, I just was not impressed by the player. All right. I'm going to get this out of the way because this was the most painful grade for me to give. I'm going to move to the AFC West.
You going Chiefs?
I'm going to talk about the Chiefs. I gave him an A+.
No.
I love every single pick he made. Again, I think there is downside in Ritter, but considering where he took him and the fact that I have zero faith in Marcus Mariota to be the guy that they need in that offense, I think Ritter has a path to being the starter there by week 6. I love Wan'Dale Robinson. I think he is wildly underrated, and I think he's a great grab at 130. I think Dameon Pierce has a clear path to starting reps in Houston. He only has to beat out Marlon Mack and Rex Burkhead. So, again, clear path. Velus Jones is just going to get opportunity end of the second round. Lewis Cine, again, first-round safety, going early third. And then Myjai Sanders, I told you, again, I had a target on his back, and he didn't make it to me. I think between the picks he made and the adding of, God, even more 23 draft capital while making these picks, I hate doing this. I hate it. But he's an A+.
Are you looking this year or long term as at his outlook for his players?
I think it's both. I think he's got clear paths to start on every single one of these players, and I think he's got long-term upside on every single one of these players.
Okay. Velus, I'm not like super familiar with. I know everybody's like high on him because he went to Chicago and they don't have a ton of depth here. But like, am I missing something? Like,
he's like 40 years old. So
he's 24.
He's 24. Right. He's only 6 foot. Like is he projecting as a slot with Pringle, or is he?
No. He played college football for 11 years, so he understands the game really well.
Like Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, exactly.
Velus is going to line up as a Y in that offense. The stretch Y, and in our kind of offense, our kind of system, he's going to be a 600-yard, 5-touchdown kind of guy. I'd say that's his floor.
I feel like that's every receiver on that team not named Darnell Mooney. Like ESB.
No, that's his ceiling too. That's all their ceilings.
I don't know. Mooney.
There's gonna be 6 of them that put up that stat line this year.
Yeah, that's true. As long as Fields can actually stay upright and not die.
Fields won't even know who he's throwing to every week. It'll just be some other guy with some number in the teens or 80s.
Yeah. Again, I feel similar about the Chicago receiving core as I do the Kansas City receiving core. There's 6 guys to take a shot on. 1 or 2 of them are going to hit.
Yeah.
And one of those guys is more than like the 90% bet for one of those is Darnell Mooney.
Yeah. He put up 1,000 yards last year.
So
he broke the 1,000-yard mark.
He did.
God damn it.
It was like
Bill, I will never forgive you for that.
I'm sorry.
If it was, I should, because if it wasn't you, it would have been somebody else. But this is all your fault.
Yeah, he had 1,055 yards on 81 receptions with 4 touchdowns.
Okay. Yeah. So I would give Chiefs I would give him an A. Kind of similar to Jags in the sense that he was also one of the other teams that kind of closed out tiers. There wasn't anybody better than like Wan'Dale at 30. Like you're just, who was the next wide receiver taken? Was the next one? No, Tolbert. All right, maybe you could make some arguments for Tolbert, but not there was one left over in that tier. That's fine. The Pierce far underdrafted. Probably should have been in the first round. So love that pick. Love the Vilas pick. Scene. I'm pretty sure I said he was drafted way too early. Still stand by way too early for a safety, but I love Scene.
Yeah.
I like Scene in the same way that I like Cook. They're monsters. Look at their necks. Like they're just very large human beings playing a position where they are typically a little bit smaller. So they're going to just wreck shit back there.
Yeah. And the best part is they're both strong safeties.
Mm-hmm. And then the Sanders pick is fine. Yeah. I made jokes about him potentially being Hassan Reddick. I don't see that type of talent, but like I could see him being that kind of a player. Maybe not the like teen sacks, that he's had. 15 sacks the past 2 years, but like he put up 8 sacks and have a reasonable amount of tackles and maybe a couple like passes defended also.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's definitely possible. I don't know. It sucks so much for me to have to say that it was good. But like it was good. Like I'm not huge on Dameon Pierce like personally, but like I love Scene. I don't know really anything about Wandale. And like the landing spot there was weird.
I will tell you about Wandale. He is barely 5'7".
Okay.
And he is under 180 pounds.
So he's taking over Sterling Shepard in the slot.
I don't know what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
It's
like the Giants was a weird landing spot for him to be on the Giants because I felt like they had their receiving core outside of whatever's going on with Kadarius, figured out. But I don't know. I would like it. I would give it an A minus.
With Wandale, I think everything that they wanted Tony to be is what he's going to be, and then Tony is actually going to end up being a quality just slot receiver or just Y type of receiver.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because like I've heard nothing but like glowing things since he showed up.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. All right, next. There's not a lot to talk about in the AFC West. We've all made like one pick, except for
Broncos gets an incomplete. Chargers basically gets an incomplete.
Right.
Because like I'm not like you can't judge either of them off of like one pick, especially so late.
Right.
Raiders is like a half incomplete, but like I'll at least give them like the thumbs up. You got a wide receiver that has a job, like a starting job, probably.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, we'll move to the NFC East then.
There's a trade. What happened? Oh no!
I don't think it was me.
I think Bill's giving his team away, and he wants to see our reaction.
I'm not giving my team away.
He just traded Najee Harris for who's the Mike Davis and something else.
No, I didn't do that. I didn't go that far.
He's not saying anything in the interim, so we're excited to see what's going on here.
Because it was Cordero Patterson, not Mike Davis.
All right, so let's start with the Cowboys.
All right.
You have an A? Go ahead.
Yep. I love the Dotson pick. He went after another wide receiver that I thought should have went before him, I believe. Oh, he went after the Watson Moore group. I think Dotson has the like draft capital like to where he should have been drafted before them. So I feel like that's a steal. Mike and I both are just in love with Thibodeau at this point. That man is so happy to be in the NFL, and I think he is going to do amazing things. Love the Hamilton pick. It's way too early. It's like 4 rounds too early, but it's fine. No, maybe not 4 rounds, but the perfectly fine pick. The later rounds, not a huge fan of, other than the Snoop Connor pick. Like I said, at some point he's probably going to be a starter. Might be for 1 week, but he's going to get some type of opportunity in Jacksonville just because everybody has bad knees already. So I would say an A, B plus A, but closer to that A because those first round picks are solid.
Yeah, I love this. Like, Dotson has me worried for the future of Terry McLaurin in Washington, but generally, like, I love this. I think Leal is a great snag, for the player. Maybe a little early, but I can't blame him. Zukanma, whatever. Like, it's a cool name. I don't really know much about him, like, at all. Snoop Connor and Okonkwo. All right, that's fine. It really is all about the first 3, and that's all that matters. And I think he killed it. I think the fact that Thibodeau even lasted until 115 is crazy. Since he was then, converted to a linebacker instead of a DN, but makes it look more reasonable. But still, like, I'm amazed that he lasted that long. And Hamilton is Hamilton in his own tier.
Yeah,
This is great. A plus.
I tempered it a B because A, I'm a buzzkill, and B, I'm not as high on Dotson as everyone else. And the players I like are overdrafted for their position. I love the story of Kayvon Thibodeau. I think he's a hell of a prospect. At outside linebacker, though, I don't know. And again, this coaching staff is just getting in place. So barring wild success from the Giants and the D coordinator getting a head coaching job next year, he's going to be in this role for a couple of years. So I think that outside linebacker role does some things to that value that isn't great. Kyle Hamilton, as mentioned, stud, but still a first-round safety. I don't know. Because of that, I gave it a B. Don't hate it, but not over the moon because of the position of some of these values. You guys will find that I'm a little bit negative on the entire NFC East. So,
Aw. I get to really know how you feel about my picks.
yep. So we'll go to the Giants next. I'll go first here. I gave him a C plus. And it's because of Pickett at the 103. Do I understand the logic? Yes. But you are now betting your team's success on being able to move either Allen for a complete overpay, considering that contract, or Pickett for value. And again, I don't want to belabor this, but let me pull up the trade that Giants made to get into that pick.
To get 3?
So to get 3,
this is what he gave up for Kenny Pickett.
He gave up Stephon Diggs, Cameron Jordan, Bobby Okereke, and a third-round pick for Jared Cook, Mike Purcell, and the 103. Cook was a contract dump, a $15 million contract dump,
which he has since cut.
Purcell was free, and then the 103.
So he took probably $15 million in salary penalty, and he got a pick out of it.
And he gave up Diggs and Cameron Jordan.
Yeah,
and
among others.
Again, I will forever struggle to say Okereke's name, but
Okereke.
It's Okereke. Just call him Bobby O.
Okay. I struggle to say Bobby O's name. But you gave up multiple impactful players. Starters, studs for the 103. And you spent the 103 on an asset that you need to trade or make another big trade for it to come to fruition. So considering what's on the board there with Walker, with Burks, so many other pieces that I think are worth more than Kenny Pickett, I give him a C+.
Well, I mean, especially for his team, right? Like he traded away like how many firsts to get Josh Allen, and he's now paying him $40+ million. So his team didn't need Pickett. It's cool to have him as like a bye week filler or like the occasional week where Pickett plays better than Josh Allen does, but his team doesn't need him. Now, I have talked to Brandon about this pick. I tried to trade back into the 103 to get Pickett because I had Trubisky, and I was like, oh my God, everything that all these sound clips out here in Pittsburgh, it's just like Trubisky might not even be on the roster week 1 because they might just trade him because they love Pickett so much. Like, I have to get him. I made a mistake. Oh my God. Like that kind of thing. And it just never worked out, right? But, you know, he's not mad about his pick. I think he's just looking at it as down the road there will be value there for him, and I can't blame him for down the road value because it's a quarterback needy league, you know. So as soon as Pickett has the starting job, he's not going to give it back, and he already has Josh Allen, so he doesn't need him anymore. So it's a question of who does he move between the two? Probably Pickett because he's more affordable and more valuable because he's a rookie contract. But, you know, what does he get out of it? Does he get the 103? I don't know.
I don't think Kenny Pickett will return the 103 in any trade.
You have to be Big Ben 2.0.
The only team that's gotten close to a 103's worth of value for a quarterback taken in this position was RJ with Trey Lance last year. Do I think Kenny Pickett has that level of upside? I don't.
Yes, and that's not homerism. That's just, yeah, he does. I look at it like he's not okay. I'm not going to say he's as mobile, you know, because how can you say that given just like what you watch on film, right? But I mean, you're talking about 48 starts in college compared to 17 in D1, not D2. You know, granted, yes, did he look anything significant until his senior year? He took that senior year jump just like Joe Burrow did, right? But and I'm not comparing them at all. But I'm just saying, like, it's like Cam Newton, senior year. You know, Joe Burrow, senior year. Like, they all had the senior year jump, and then they got their value added, right? He has the upside. He does have the upside. It really just depends on what they do with him and how they build him. The thing that I'm most concerned about is Tomlin inherited Ben and has never had to actually train a quarterback. Ben was Super Bowl bound before Tomlin got there and after, and he never had to teach a guy how to play football. We'll see how good Tomlin is with quarterback building at this point.
Agree to disagree because I'm never going to be high on Kenny Pickett.
That's fine. That's fine.
I give the draft as a whole a D. I like the likely pick, but that's not enough to save my distaste for the second round pick and the Kenny Pickett. He would have just been better off falling to like 9 or 10 to San Francisco or the Colts. Yeah, I can agree with you there, but I mean Logan Hall's going to start probably in Tampa, you know, or at least be part of the heavy rotation, you know. Good for him. I still don't like him.
Hall's going to be a D tackle. I hate to look at his highlights. He's lining up inside.
I don't know that he's big enough. Like, he's only 260.
There are 280 D tackles. He's going to line up a D tackle. They drafted him to be that 3-4 end/D tackle, so he's going to get that designation. He's not going to stay at the end.
That's fair. I like it. I mean, I'm not going to knock him on it. I like the names that he drafted. The only thing I think, like, well, except for likely, I don't know anything about the guy. Plus, he's stuck behind Mark Andrews. I just think Kenny Pickett was the wrong choice at 103, given team need versus the fact that you had guys like Kenneth Walker and Garrett Wilson on the board at the time. Like, they could have done his team more of a service.
All right, let's jump to something a little bit more positive here. Let's talk about the Eagles.
Eagles.
I give them a B plus.
Okay.
I think Breece Hall, he's been my 101 for the entire year. So right pick, obvious pick for him to go with there. Everything else, I was not as sold on Mafe as RJ was. I think he rounded out a tier at safety, but definitely didn't get the cream of the crop. And then I have questions on those fourths. So I don't hate it, but outside of the Breece Hall pick, I am more dubious of it than I would say others are. So I'm giving him a B plus, which is the best grade I gave anybody in the NFC East.
Yeah, I can go with B plus. I really like Hall and I really like Cook a lot. The only thing with Hall, just the fact that he landed with the Jets, it's the only thing that made me even slightly consider Kenneth Walker as the better choice at 101.
Yeah, very fine, very acceptable consideration. I thought of him too.
All right.
I like my draft. I don't know. I can't really give myself a grade, or else I'd go A plus. I really like. I'm not a huge fan of Mafe as a player. I just like the opportunity a lot.
Yeah.
Who's my third round pick? I don't even know.
Cook.
I like Cook. Cook's going to be a starting safety. I didn't have like a real preference like once you got out of Hamilton, like
right.
From seeing Brisker, Petrie, Cook, Woods, Cross, Joseph, all perfectly fine choices in my opinion. I didn't have them necessarily in the same tier because some had a little bit better path to being a starter early, but I liked all of them the same.
All right.
I wouldn't.
So we're going to interrupt this program because we have a trade. The Broncos have traded Rashad Higgins, John Franklin Myers, and Jordan Hicks for Juwan Jennings, Jonnu Smith, Draymond Jones, and 436.
You're welcome.
I don't know how to feel about this one.
It's just a longevity play.
I like Jordan Hicks and I like Juwan Jennings. The rest of it's all garbage. I loved John Franklin Myers at one point, and then the Jets drafted like 30 other defensive ends and edge rushers.
Well, Draymond Jones should be a killer.
Yeah. Especially with Harris gone.
That is very true.
Yeah. I think
isn't he also the nose tackle there?
No, he's the true defensive end.
Yeah.
Purcell and DJ Jones are the nose tackle.
DJ Jones. Okay. Yep. I approve of this deal now.
And Jonnu was just literally cap filler.
I got Draymond confused with DJ for a second. I like this. I like this deal mostly because you ended up with the better wide receiver out of the bunch.
Yeah, I like Jennings is showing stuff in camp, so I like him. He's truly looking to emerge as the receiver 3 in that offense. Jonnu has upside, but is expensive. Draymond's the big thing here.
Yeah.
I have a question for who's got the best piece in the deal because Draymond's the D end. but Hicks is the higher scorer.
He got the best piece out of Hicks, but Hicks doesn't help my team this year. Like
Okay,
that's kind of the thing is like I'm trying to build for future, and I'd rather have Draymond and let him deal with competing with Hicks.
Yeah, and he's got to extend Hicks because he's on his last year. So
Hicks has already been extended. He's going to get another 3 years or 2 years and go to like $11.1 million.
ooh, that's gonna be fun.
So, since we're doing this, and I really did not care last year. There are some rules that I stay out of it, so I just don't have to read into it. Who's getting that trade extension taken from
The person who declared it.
The person who declared it.
Hicks has been traded like 3 times since then.
Yeah, it's Patriots. He declared it. He's getting a lost trade extension.
All right, so let's finish out the NFC East. Commanders.
With the Commanders.
Commanders get a C. Chanel, I understand the measurables. Don't love him though. Nick Cross, pass. Let's see.
This is a D for me. It can become a C plus if Chanel ends up winning a starting job because their linebacker situation is so in flux outside of Bolton. But Nick Cross is a backup to Kari Willis, and he's back healthy. And yeah, at the end of the day, though, like, what does the guy actually need? But that these names do not do anything for me at the moment.
It's a C, but I give it a C, probably a C plus, but like I'm actually gonna grade something that's only 2 picks deep because I really like both of these players. I don't know what you guys are talking about with Cross. I see somebody who's most likely going to be a starter because there's not real draft capital invested in those safeties. So they will have no problem benching one for a more talented younger player. And Leo is most likely going to be a starter, if not in some type of a rotation where he sees somewhat of an upwards of probably 600 snaps this year. So I like those players.
Okay.
It's also a very incomplete draft, so can't do more than a C.
All right. I'm okay being wrong. Moving to the NFC North. Bears and Packers get incompletes because they don't have no picks. We'll go to the Lions next. This is a tale of 2 drafts for me. I gave him a B because I like London and Willis in the first, and I like Clark in the 4th. The other picks I'm not big fans of. So because I like the first rounders, but I don't love the later picks, I'm grading on a bit of a scale. So I'm giving it a B.
I would give this a C minus. I think I have shared my opinion on London quite a bit. I do not think very highly of him. I think he is a mind-blowing physical talent, but I just don't like him. The Willis pick, whatever. I lost faith in him when he went in the 3rd round. And I don't like really I like the next 2 picks, the 2 picks in the 4th round, but that doesn't save a draft or the 3rd round. Like just because you pick decent players in the 3rd round doesn't save your draft class.
All right, Bill.
Yeah, honestly, like you said, 1st round solid. Given his timeline that he's probably working with to be like competitive or at least start competing, I think Willis works out very nicely for him. Solid deal as far as like salary compared to what he could have been. Pacheco, we talked about him already. Depending on where things play out in Kansas City, could be great. But yeah, it's a lot of no name, unknown names, and then you have Drake London and Malik Willis. I personally think Garrett Wilson was the wide receiver 1, and I don't like Drake London as much as others do. But that seems to be the case with this draft class. Is everybody had their own preference at wide receiver 1.
Yep.
I mean, everybody had an opinion on it, but they're all wrong if it wasn't Jameson.
Well, we'll find out how that works out in Detroit.
Oh, it's going to be terrible because he's with like 7 other capable wide receivers.
Well, and Jared Goff can't throw the ball past 30 yards.
That's fair.
I don't see how. Wait, so baby hands is a problem for Jared Goff, but Kenny Pickett's the second coming.
No, I didn't say either one of them could do anything specific. I just said that Kenny Pickett has great potential.
Yeah, he's the second coming of Jared Goff.
No. Let's rewind here a second here. When I said I'm not a fan of Kenny Pickett, you're wrong. Just
Okay.
bring that back up here.
Okay.
So perfect timing for me to piss everybody off when we talk about my team.
Yeah.
I tried to put my objective hat on here and say, how do I rate this draft? I love all of my picks, but I'm giving myself a B+ if I'm going to be objective because, again, I've moved a good number of them, but most of my picks in terms of where they're going to finish out are likely going to be non-core positions. So we'll go ahead and give it a B+.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, I think it's interesting because like 2 of your top 6 picks you've already traded away. In better deal in like better return for yourself, obviously, for what you were looking to do. But I don't know. Trayvon Walker, obviously excellent situation there for him. Drake Jackson, rotational guy, probably, I would assume.
Starter.
Well, I mean, isn't everybody rotational across from Bosa?
Ford's going to get cut. I think he's got the best chance of being the other end. But still.
Okay. Ruckert, if he pans out the way you say that he will, or that you project him to, great. Mathis is a great backup option. Woods is going to be a starter at some point here shortly, I would assume, and Elam is already a starter. So yeah, I could easily see this being a solid A. Yeah, I mean, I'm not so high on the idea of Daxton Hill going to corner. I mean, I could understand it happening. I just don't necessarily see it happening, and that's not because I now own him.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, the second round safety is definitely going to be.
Oh no shit! Sorry, I'm watching the Mavs Golden State game in the background. Foul shot just got taken. It bounced and stopped on top of the rim.
Nice. That's going to be on the not top 10 on Sports Center on Friday.
Yeah.
So, RJ, what were you saying about the second round?
Who was the second round safety that they took?
Safety that the Bengals took?
Was it Britt Taylor or something?
That sounds right.
Cam Britt Taylor.
Let me look at this. Yeah. Cam Taylor Britt, but he's listed as a corner.
Okay. He's listed as a corner through MFL. I know he was announced as a safety or maybe just a defensive back in the draft.
Tyson Anderson was drafted in the 5th, and he's listed as the backup to Von Bell.
He's actually going to play safety. Taylor is going to most definitely be corner. And then the other one that we're talking about, Daxton, he's kind of on the fence.
He's going to go back and forth probably.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Nickelback wouldn't be a bad fit for him.
Interestingly enough, that's where he's listed on our lads.
Good old our lads.
Yeah, I know, right?
It can be a curse, and it can be a gift.
Right. Oh man.
I would probably give this draft, say a B-. I love the Walker pick. I think the Bell pick was the best wide receiver available at the time. I feel like your fandom clouded you from getting Boye, in the second round. Instead, you took Jackson. But you redeemed yourself with the second best tight end available. And then I will say it forever, but safety's too high. But if we're taking safeties in the second round, third round, they are exceptional safeties to take. And Elam is one of the, like, I think uber talented cornerbacks. So if I'm taking my personal opinion about like where somebody should go, and we're just talking about like taking the players available at the time, I think that's a fine pick too. So only one I wasn't a huge fan of was the Jackson pick. But that's because I picked so close after that at the same position, and I just felt there was just a clear difference.
And boy, do I disagree with you.
Yep.
It's not my fandom either. We'll talk post pod, and we'll compare notes. But
Okay.
Bill's just strap it in. He's ready for it.
I'm ready.
All right. So moving on to another annoying one for me to do. Let's go to the NFC South.
Ew.
We're going to start with the Buccaneers because they're an incomplete.
Mhm.
Then we're going to go to the next AFC South team listed.
Just get it over with and rip it off like a Band-Aid.
Falcons getting A+.
Oh, that's worse than ripping it off like a Band-Aid. I'd give him a B+.
What are you talking about?
Rashad White at 132 is stealing. To move back in for the price he paid to get Jalen Tolbert at 205 is a gift. And then I know you're saying safeties are too high in the third. I think third round is the right time to take a safety.
Still love him.
Jalen Petre is absurdly talented. And word out of camp right now from the beat writers is he's going to have a starting job immediately. So
I think he's already listed as the starter on like not even our lads, but like every place that does depth charts.
So not less than $1 million for starting safety for a defense who's gonna get paid a lot. Plus Tolbert, who has a clear path to wide receiver 3 in that offense. Plus Rashad White, who's got a clear path to that top running back job there. I mean, with Tom Brady, like for the positions he had to take players at, he gets an A+. So I hate it that the two people I'm giving A+s to are Goose and the Falcons, but I'm going to stop talking.
Are you worried at all that Petrie is going to play free safety instead of strong?
Nope.
We have another pick.
Fair enough.
426.
I just don't like the Rashad White pick as much as Mike does. I don't know if he was really worth first round, but that's why I would be at a B+ instead of like an A or an A+.
All right. The 426 just went. Raiders jumped on and took who I felt was the last player in this tier. With this 26 pick in the fourth round, the Raiders select it was Cole Turner, tight end from Nevada, going to Washington. So I told RJ pre-draft when he was talking about his pick that there are two players I felt that were in contention still that I would be interested in moving into to get, and Turner was one of them. So I think the two players that really made Strong look really good at Nevada were Daubs and Turner. Daubs on the outside, winning a lot of 50-50 balls, and then Turner just crushing people inside. And considering that Washington tight end room is a very undecided place, think about it. The starter was a former quarterback, Logan Thomas. I don't know if Thaddeus Moss is still there, but who's behind him? Who's separating Cole Turner from meaningful snaps? think it's a great pick by Raiders. All right.
I
Do
agree.
we have to say anything else tonight about Falcons, or can we move on?
We can move on.
All right. Talk about Panthers. I have to do it. I gave him an F.
I would say a C.
Because
Because
he went through and explained his methodology for picking the players he picked, and I respect his methodology. Isaiah Spiller would have been there if he moved down. I think every single player he took would have been there if he moved down. So I don't hate the talent he got, but I think he overpaid on every single pick. Some by half a round, some by multiple rounds. So because of that, I've got to give him an F.
Isaiah Spiller's early for me. Trey McBride is early for me. Kyle Phillips is early for me, but I do like Kyle Phillips and
Right.
the opportunity he has there. I mean, overall, I don't like the players, right? I kind of agree with what you said. They're just earlier more often than not. But go get your guy kind of thing, right?
Right. And again, he's got his methodology, so I totally respect. He's got his evaluation method. He sees how he's going to see it. And like you said, get your guys. So he sees Spiller with a clear path to getting that role. If it breaks that way, I'm an asshole. But it's kind of like it's results over process. If this works, I think it's a process over results. But again, that's just me. RJ, thoughts?
I mean, I give it a C. Like, I agree with everything you said, other than the Tyndall pick. I think everybody was a little early. Love every pick, but just early. Like, even the Pierre Strong, I love the pick, but probably third rounder.
Probably could have got him at 312.
Yep.
Calvin Austin, I'm kind of surprised Calvin Austin got to 301. But I'm also like totally fine with him getting to the third as well.
Yep. Again, the Steelers have great success taking second round receivers.
Yep.
That success is not duplicated for late round guys. So I am not a big Calvin Austin believer.
We got AB in the 6th, whatever that's worth.
Yeah, and Mike Wallace was the 4th that year. So,
Right.
like I said, some things are process over results. Some things are results over process.
Right.
All right, last team in the NFC South, the Saints. I gave Saints a B-. I like the Jelani Woods pick. I like the Benito pick. I got talked into liking the Ingram pick. Like I said, I really like the McDuffie pick and the Kobe Bryant pick based off of the value spent to get those players. I think he's got a lot of contributing players on a rebuilding team. And a lot of the players he got aren't going to preclude him from being in contention for the first pick next year. So I think Saints is on the inside track to our first pick next year.
No. Maybe top 5, but he's not going to be 101. Have you looked at the Texans roster?
Yeah, he's got Deshaun Watson, unless he gets injured unless he gets suspended for the entire year.
Which he should. He should. I don't know. I think top 5 for sure. I just don't see 101 off the Saints. I will give him credit though. I will give this an A for effort, straight up. The dude came in off the street, had no idea what he was doing, and made his picks and figured it out as he went. I'll give him credit. He ended up with Trent McDuffie, totally gonna be totally fine there. I like D'Angelo Malone. Nick Benito has an option there. Sam Williams is his first pick while on the clock. That's incredible that he worked through all these names and found him and made it happen. But yeah, just for coming in totally cold, A for effort.
RJ?
I agree with all statements. Not going to really judge any pick because he was just thrown to the wolves. You're already on the clock. Make shit happen. There's 31 other angry people that want you to pick.
Yeah.
So perfectly fine. The only one that I would necessarily criticize was the Woods pick. Don't necessarily hate the player. Just hate that was tight end 2 off the board.
Right.
All right. Moving to the NFC West. We've crossed the 2-hour point, so I appreciate you guys sticking with. 49ers. Game of B. I really like the Hutchinson pick. At the 110, I think that's a quality spot to grab him. Anderson, I understand why he made the pick and the versatility that comes with that. Again, I'm giving him a B to start with, but if Anderson gets kind of a multi-dimensional role, that could grow. Bellinger I like from the same reason I like Turner. They have Ricky Seals-Jones ahead of him. So I think Bellinger's an okay prospect, not amazing, but he's going to have a path to opportunity. So giving it a B for now with the potential to grow.
C+, close to a B. Don't like the Hutchinson pick. Love the Anderson pick. And I'm really growing to like the Bellinger pick. I know it's just some random 4th round pick, but as Mike stated, there is not a whole lot of competition for that tight end role in New York. So
yeah, who was the guy that signed there from Washington? Oh, Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot there. It's him and Jordan Akins.
But I love the Troy Anderson pick.
Yeah.
Like that's gonna be he's gonna be an insanely valuable linebacker next year.
Yep.
All right. Moving to Cardinals, I gave him an A. Moving up to get Kenneth Walker at 4, I think was right value, right pick. Again, I have to go back and look exactly who Cowboys got, but gets Kenneth Walker and Christian Harris out of that deal. Cowboys got, let me just take a quick look, Dotson and Thibodeau. I think Harris is going to be equivalent to Thibodeau in terms of the linebacker position, and I'd much rather have Walker over Dotson. So big win for me in that one. Following up with Ajabo, who I think is going to be kind of a redshirt player, not just because of the injury, but because Baltimore likes to redshirt its linebackers. Yeah. And then Thornton has some upside at 224, maybe a bit of a reach, but a clear path and one of the few guys who can perform in that role for New England with an elite skill. They look for either versatility or elite skill, and Thornton has that elite skill, so I'm giving Cardinals an A.
Yep. Love the Walker pick. Walker would have been 101 if it wasn't Hall. Love the Christian Harris pick. Lots of production, lots of opportunity there. Ajabo would have been a first rounder if he wasn't hurt. Like in this draft and in the NFL.
Yep.
Did he fall out of the first round in the actual NFL?
Ajabo was 213.
Yeah. Okay. And I have grown to love Tyquan Thornton, and I think that's an amazing pick. And you say too early, I say way too late.
Yeah, again, I did the lead skill.
I don't think I was even a fan of it when the pick was made. So like that's how recently I have changed my opinion on that one.
Yep. All right. Continuing the NFC West love. The only place you'll ever hear me say it, I'm giving the Seahawks an A-. I think Pickens' deal was great value. Gets the last receiver of that tier at 116. Rewarded for his patience. I think Karlaftis has a clear path to a very productive role for Kansas City. Love him as a prospect and love him in that position. Corral could be a very cheap starting quarterback for him and completes the duo with Darnold at Carolina quarterback. So for 206, a high ceiling, low risk move. We talked about the Dobbs pick. And then of the running backs in that end of supplemental third, early fourth range, Ty Chandler is one of my favorites. I think he's behind Madison and Cook for sure. But I don't think both those guys survive Minnesota this year. I think I don't see those being the platoon going forward. I think either Minnesota gets tired of Madison and moves on, or finds a way out of Cook. But that being said, I think Chandler finds himself in a tertiary role and potentially a backup role by the end of the year.
I mean, this is Madison's last year under contract.
So I don't think they extended him. I think it's just a thanks very much. Goodbye.
Wow. And they have an out on Dalvin next year as well.
I would be a tad closer to like a B+ on this. Not as big of a fan of the first two picks. I mean, like the players. I don't like the Pickens pick necessarily, but like I don't hate the player. Just feel that there was better options. The Karlaftis pick, same thing. He was going to go in that range, just wasn't my preference. Love the Corral pick, love the Dubs pick. I'm fond of the Chandler pick. I feel the same way about Mike. I just it's weird. Like all of the backup running backs in Minnesota all fit other roles than being a competent backup.
Yeah.
Like one's a really good third down back. The other one's a really good like special teams and return guy. But like none of them are good at just being a running back when the starting running back is hurt.
Right. Yeah, I get that. I mean, personally, I like Pickens. I think that, I think it's going to be a year before he like fully goes into that role. I find it amazingly hilarious that, they made Chase
Claypool made him announce it.
Replacement. No, Karlaftis, I really enjoy. Matt Corral, unless they trade for Baker or Jimmy or somebody, I could very easily see him being week 1 starter over Sam Darnold.
That's gonna end up being the best pick in the draft, and it makes me sick that I took some random defensive end and let him fall.
Hey, those things happen.
But you just ding me for taking Jackson over Maffei, and then you're dinging yourself for taking Maffei over Corral.
Hey, so we both screwed up there.
We got one more team.
It's the Rams. C.
D.
Probably, yeah. I would actually go with a D. Love the Asamoah pick. Hate the rest of the picks.
Yeah.
Marcus Jones isn't even the better Jones cornerback taken by the Patriots.
But he was taken around earlier. That's the
I
thing.
know, but Jack is gonna get the nod over him.
Yeah. I mean, who do they have at corner in New England anyway? Who are their players?
Nobody.
It doesn't matter.
Some random people that they got off the street.
Butler and Jalen Mills.
Who?
Interesting. And then Jonathan Jones is nickel. And Terrence Mitchell and Jack Jones and Marcus Jones. Fun.
Jones.
Yeah. Lots of Joneses. Keeping up with them.
I love how they don't have Kyle Duggar as a starter when he's basically the whole secondary.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, there we are. Third round, most of the fourth round, and draft grades. That's way to keep your mind off things, guys. For those who stuck with us, thanks very much. I think we got one person still watching right now, so hopefully keeping things entertaining. We'll be back once the draft is fully done and do some post-draft power rankings afterwards. But for those who joined us on a Tuesday night, thanks very much. Enjoy and be safe out there.